Good afternoon, everyone. So my talk will be about data products in practice. My role is head of knowledge and also a senior data engineer at Dataminded. So, well, actually, this is the title of my talk. I have revamped the title a bit. It's building data-centric organizations with data products. So, but the subtext is a bit more important. The subtext is how can we help leaders and engineers, two different sides of a company, to be more successful with data. And before we dive deeper into that, I'll quickly give you an overview what Dataminded does. So Dataminded, we help our clients in three different aspects. We give advice on strategic and architecture. We help you implement data platforms and use cases. We build both of them. And we assist you in upskilling your own people so that they can build these things themselves. And if you look at the landscape these days, we see, of course, AI is a big hype. Everybody is talking about AI. We see lots of demos, lots of chatbots. Everybody wants a chatbot these days. But I try to summarize the state of AI and data and that landscape today. And I try to squeeze it in one slide, and this is actually how it looks like. This is one proof of concept we did with dummy data for one of our clients, and it's a chatbot. It asks which cities have the most lockers, like where can you place a parcel or deliver a parcel in. And the answer is a table, and it lists a bunch of cities also in Belgium with the number of lockers. Looks good, right? And then I ask you, like, what is the second biggest city that has the most lockers? And it says Brussels. Well, actually, it's wrong. It should be Mechelen. It's the third one. Because if you look a bit down, you will see Mechelen, another city of Belgium, again, in lowercase. And at the third spot, it's in uppercase. So actually it should have combined these things. But obviously the chatbot doesn't know. And to me, this is a bit the state of AI. We always look at that top part like, oh, we can query with natural language. But the bottom part, that's not really in a good state in most companies. Like all the governance, how you organize your data, how you offer your data to your agents, it's not really in a good shape. And we often ignore that part, because that's, of course, not very fancy and it's really difficult to do. I also heard in a lot of these discussions today, it's difficult to get your organization organized around the data. So what do we actually need to do? We also notice a shift where we used to provide data for people to access. We also now need to think about how do we give access to data for agents? How do we unlock our data ecosystem? So basically, my subtext should be how can we help leaders and engineers and agents to work more efficiently with data? And that's also what we're trying to do here. We're trying to organize our data landscape so that we are more efficient in working with data. So let's dive in. What does it actually mean working with data or creating value? Creating value with data is enabling us to make decisions. We often rely on reports, on APIs, on apps, and these days also on AI systems to make better decisions. We need insights, we need information. And we want to extend that. Organizations are very ambitious. We want to have that 360 customer overview that spans marketing, finance, sales, and the product. We want to know everything. If you want to make a sales call, we want to know the marketing campaign that has been executed. We want to have the survey feedback from product. This is the ambition of organizations, connecting that data landscape. Yet, we don't really succeed in that. So how can we reach that ambition? If you look at organizations, we centralize a lot of things. We centralize our data efforts. We have these reporting factories or data units in our organizations, and you get all of these sad departments that are waiting for insights because we cannot really scale. We have a bunch of people that are limited in the number of people, so we cannot really scale that. They're also not integrated in those domains. They don't always know the context, so they will give you numbers, and then you say, this does not look right, or I get two different numbers in my graphs. And so the quality of what they deliver is not what you expect it to be. So how can we improve that? Well, if we do centralization, we could do decentralization, right? Should be easy. Well, sadly, it's not, but there are ways to do that. There are frameworks to reach good decentralization for your data efforts. And today we will guide you through these different layers. We will focus on three middle things: how to build a successful platform for speed, how to build data products. I will also explain how we look at data products, and how to enable your business domains to be more successful. And so we're going to start with the potential that we see in this. If I go back more than 25 years, in the 90s, there was a younger me sitting behind a CRT monitor and actually installing software. I was installing games and experimenting with software, and I had to drag a bunch of files around in the Windows Explorer. I had to install drivers and these things, and I was considered the expert of the family. I was a computer guy. I should be able to fix every printer. And I did not, but I was managing a bunch of files. But that has changed. If we fast forward to today, we've also heard it today a few times, we're working with our phones, we're working with apps. Everybody installs apps. My grandparents, they can install apps. They just press install and they're done. We invented this abstraction of software that is no longer a bunch of files. Of course, if you look under the hood, it's still a bunch of files. But for people, this abstraction is really tangible. We work with apps. And we have made these apps into a product. We have a store for them. We have labels. We can see privacy labels on them. We also provide guidance on how to build them, and we provide tools so that you can build them quicker. So this is actually very successful. If you look at Apple, they have 50K engineers internally working on these platforms. They enable more than 30 million developers to build these applications. So the builders are a lot more. There's a big scaling factor. And then there's 1.5 billion users using this. So what do they actually do? They make a self-service platform to enable the builders to build more efficiently and to enable you to reach the consumers. So you get this big scaling factor effect. And this is where the success is. Of course, Apple takes away a bit of commission on all of these transactions, so they rake in a lot of money. But ultimately, it's very effective in the scale they provide. So if we again rewind to the 90s, where we were working with Excel and we were working with also data warehouses already, what do we have today? Yeah, we don't have a bunch of tables, but we have a bunch of systems. And good luck releasing your AI agent into these systems. If we can't make sense of it, I also don't think the AI agent can. So what's going on there? And we've tried to find a solution for this. And we saw it in the slide earlier. Excel is one of the key cornerstones of many organizations combined with email. So many people are reverting back to sending across your organization CSV files and Excel files that are not scalable, that are low quality, and it takes a lot of time to build them. So that's not really a good thing. So we want the app equivalent for data. And that is what data products is about. We want to build data products that also can reach the scale that we talked about earlier. And that is what the presentation is about today. How can you in your organization, with only a bunch of key platform engineers, enable builders and enable consumers of your data? The agenda is as follows. We will first discuss what is a data product and how can it accelerate your organization. How can we make sure that the builders are incentivized to build higher quality? And then how can the consumers, the management people, how can they govern their organization at scale? And then I have some time for some hairy questions that I anticipated already that I will try to answer already. All right, let's start with the anatomy of a data product. What is a data product? We always draw a data product as this circle. A data product consists of data, obviously, but also of a team that builds it and of the code and the tools to construct it. So it's easily constructible. An Excel file is not a data product. That's only part of it. So you need something that consumes data and produces data, combined with all the machinery to redo that. And then you can have recurring calculations to recalculate your data product. If you have this abstraction in your organization, what you can do is construct your landscape. We always focus on the right part of this slide. We focus on the output. This is also where the business value relies, but we forget that the data comes from source systems, CRM systems, product systems. And we need to make sure this is available to your reporting, but also to your AI system. So somebody needs to build that. And somebody needs to govern that. We have source data products that make your source systems available for others to use. We have aggregate data products that combine that into tangible and reusable units. And we have consumer-aligned data products that stage your data for your LLM or for your report. And this is what you as a company need to govern. But that is challenging. If you look at the builders, what do they need to do? Yeah, they need to write code to process data. They need to find a way to re-execute every day. You want fresh data, or every hour. They need to write tests so that they can provide guarantees to you. They need to write documentation so you know how to use their data. And so all these tasks, that is quite That is a lot. So we need to try to alleviate them from all the burden of building these data products. And typically, when building that, they need to answer a lot of technical questions. Where do I need to store my data? Do I store it in Snowflake, Databricks, S3? What is the name of the storage that I'm going to use? So they tend to focus a lot on technical questions, where actually we want them to focus on value. How can we do that shift? And the first thing is, we need to find a mapping of the data product concept on your technology. On the slide, you have Snowflake as an example, but every data product has an internal space where you can test your processes and you can do your internal calculations, and an external space. And that can map into a space on your technology, on your AWS cloud, on Azure, on Google Cloud, on Snowflake. So it's a key mapping that gives you a space on each technology. Once that is fixed, you no longer have to think about, what will I call my database or my schema? How will I call my tables? It is fixed for you already. And then one layer above, once you have that mapping done, you can automate this whole process. I want to create a new data product. I capture the essence. What am I going to do with this data? So I capture the what, and I capture the who. Who is going to work on this? And then automatically you get that space on these technologies and people can start building. So you don't need to call a central team or mail them and ask, like, I need permissions on this specific repository of code or this specific data asset. You get it automatically. You can even go as far as that you give them boilerplate code. You give them a template for their ML use case or for their analytical use case. So once you do this and you get the hang of it, you can start enabling them and you remove all the technical decisions and your builders can focus on creating value. So you shift from technology to value. So what do we do there? By introducing the concepts of data products, these circles, and mapping it to the technology, you reduce a bit of the choices, you focus on value, but people will be able to deliver faster. They will be able to build things more quickly. The next angle we take is the builder angle, so the engineering angle. Often if you ask a company, what is a healthy data product or what does healthy data look like? And we give them this checklist. And none of you, I hope, will disagree with this checklist. You want all of it, right? You want your data products to be valuable, understandable, discoverable. Everybody will say yes. And you say to your developers, we want this list. Nobody knows what it means in practice. So they do something, but what does valuable mean? What does discoverable mean? So one key thing to do is to make it explicit and measurable. For example, in the right corner, we have discoverable. That could be you want all your data registered in a catalog like DataHub. Every table needs documentation. Every column needs documentation. This is a limited list, but you get the point. You make things tangible. For security, you could say every column needs to specify whether it's PII, sensitive data, or not. And the good thing is, because you have that data product, you can start checking these things automatically. So we made at some of our clients this checkup list. Because the data product has code inside, your agents can actually crawl into that data product and check whether they're compliant to your requirements. They can check whether it's really discoverable. So you can automate this, give this to your developers, and they can actually see, I am 70% or 60% compliant, I'm at the silver level. And you can put requirements in your organization that everybody needs to go for gold before they open up their data. So it's part of incentivizing them and also giving them the space to implement this. So what's the key message here? I gave you a few examples, but ultimately you want your builders to be able to be accelerated. You want to build a platform with the right tools that steers people in the right direction. And that is part of good governance. We are actually interweaving governance into our platform. So there's many things we can still do. We can provide templates. We can even automatically, if they're compliant, push their data into a catalog. Zero work needed. So you can do all of these things and be compliant as a company. So that was the next level. We actually make sure that it's easy to build data products that are of high quality. We have a checklist that can automatically be checked and even automated. To give you a quick extra, in this list, it is in Dutch, but you can ignore it. It has 10 metrics, it has the status, and it also has the solution in there. It says, for example, you don't have all your tables documented. You could even implement a button there, Fix Me with AI, that gives you a proposal on how to do it. This is how far we have come with the LLMs. We can assist developers to make better data products. All right. And then this section is about the consumers, the management angle. We now have enabled people to build data products of higher quality with guarantees. Now what? How do we manage this? And there's always a technical component and a business component to a data product. There's somebody from business managing that, and they also need to make decisions. Why do I need this data product? What data do I need? Who will work on it? So they need to assign a team. So they need to, again, make decisions. How can we make it easier for them? Well, the first thing they would need to do is find data to use. And because everybody registered their data products, we can automatically fill a catalog with all this information. If all the tables are labeled, all the columns are labeled, you can actually have a catalog in there where you can search for this information. And you know then where your data resides. But then you know it, and you still need to connect data products. For example, I want to build an HR chatbot. Everybody wants a chatbot. So I look for employee data. And that employee data resides in another data product. So how do I connect the two? In the old days, you would have to, again, send an email to somebody. I want access to table X in system Z, and I want person Y to have access. That's not really efficient. That's, again, centralizing. How can we decentralize? Well, we actually want both owners to agree on the usage. They have a responsibility of making sure their data is used accurately, depending on your organizational needs. So in this case, I would ask the owner if I can get permission, and we can, again, automate that. So we've built this kind of form where you just say, this is the reason why I want your data for my data product. That is automatically popping up in Teams of the other owner as a notification, and they can see the context fully traceable. They can see, Jonny sent me this message for his data product X, for the chatbot. This is the reason why he wants that table, and they can reject or approve right in their normal flow, or they can delegate the request. So this is integrated in their normal flows. The big benefit is we have full traceability of this. Everything that happens here is captured in their systems. Okay, let's go one level up. We had the data product, but now again, we landed on the full organization. Let's take the head of the finance person, somebody who owns the data in the finance department. What would they like to do? They would need to make some decisions. How are we doing with data? Are we compliant? What is the next thing on our priority list? Where do we put our money? So you want to give them this overview of their domain, located in purple on the slide. They want to see their data products and how they're connected. Which data is being shared with other domains? How is data flowing in? Where's PII data going? So they want to be able to check this. And at the top of the slide, you can also see the total usage of your data. This is a metric on measuring the success of your organization. You can also see the cost and the value and the score they have on the health check that I showed earlier. It's 94% in this case. Then they can decide to also dive deeper, and then they want to assess, like, are we actually compliant? We want all of this, remember? So they can dive deeper, and they look at two things: value and cost. What is the value of my data product? Really difficult to assess, but the cost you can track. The infrastructure usage and the bookings in Jira, for example. Like, how many time are people booking on operating this product? The right side of the slide has actually these valuable measures associated to it. You can see they're not compliant in some parts. For example, in this case, discoverable is not fully compliant. How can we fix that? So as a domain owner, I can actually zoom in and see which of my data products need some attention. So in this way, we actually went through all the layers. We have a platform with data products that allow you to go fast. We have data products that we can build with quality with the checklist. And at scale, we offer this view, these insights and automation to manage your domains. And now for a few hairy questions. So the first skeptical question I always get is, will this really be used? Because if you give people the system and they have to be compliant, they probably won't use it. Or they won't write tests, they won't write good tests. People need other tools than you offer in your system. But there's a few things to do. First, you need to combine your educational tracks with the facilitation. You need to balance that. We give some facilitation by giving the checklist, giving some guardrails, and also giving them some automation. If you follow the rules, you get free automatic deployments. We take care of that. Every day your data will be fresh if you follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, you have to manage it yourself. If you want custom tools, we also allow that. So we follow there the 80-20 rule. We allow for custom data products where people can fill in everything themselves, but we don't support them. So you have to find a good balance with that. Another thing is, how big do I make my data product? Like, is it an Excel file? Is it one table? Or is it a bunch of tables? Or is it my full database system? Well, also here, the typical consulting answer, it depends. You ask some questions. When does it run? Is it daily? Is it monthly? Who is maintaining it? Is it one team, two teams? If the answer is it depends, you want to create ownership, so you split the thing and you assign ownership. Another thing is, well, we already bought a data platform. We have Snowflake or we have Databricks or something similar. Yes, you might have bought a data platform, but it's not really a platform. It's a piece of technology that often misses concepts, that misses integration, and that is not associated with your way of working. It's a generic tool still. It is super powerful, but you will always need to provide that sauce on top, that platform on top that connects it to other systems. So you do need to add something to that platform. And then a big one, what about data mesh? I heard data mesh here today a few times. Data mesh has 4 principles, but actually we covered those. Let me briefly go over them. We covered data as a product. We treat data as something, not as a project, not something that stops, but something that we keep offering and keep healthy. We also talked about domain ownership, that high-level view of your domain, of your data products and your ecosystem. Also self-service infrastructure. This is about automation. You fill in a form, you get a space on the technology. And finally, I think this is the biggest important one, federated computational governance, a big term for essentially saying we want integrated and automated governance. Everything you do is checked. We have a checklist to see if you're compliant, and we have even recommendations and AI systems to assist you in becoming compliant. This makes it super easy to be compliant. All right, some takeaways and some future looks. So basically, what did we view today? We want to enable not only people, but also agents to create value from data. I think that's also a bit mindset shift. We used to not write good documentation because we thought, yeah, people will figure it out anyway. They will come and ask. Well, the AI agent will not. You have to supply them with the best metadata you can so it can take decisions and answer the best questions. We looked at 3 things. The bottom one is speed. We want to give them self-service by standardizing. We standardize the data product concept and map that to technology, so it's standardized. We want to ensure quality and avoid rework by measuring the health. That's that checklist. Are you compliant? Are all your tables described? And finally, we offer scale on that business level so that you can govern your landscape because we give you insights and we give you some automation. And so the key takeaway, if there's one thing you take away, is that you need to make sure you enable your builders and your consumers. Make sure they are empowered to build something with AI. AI systems, reports, whatever, you need to empower them. All right, we have some Dataminded material for free if you would like. So there are, based on the talk that I gave today, we have 2 podcasts. We have a business, the Top Hat podcast for your organizational leaders. And we also have code samples. We're experimenting with MCP, with AI systems that we give away for free. If you want to learn more about Portal, which was one of the screenshots that I showed, we have that as open source, so you can start experimenting with that yourself. All right, thanks a lot for your attention. If you have any questions, please come to the roundtable. Thank you.